Warning: the following video contains unusual humor which may be unsuitable for adults, strong language which may be unsuitable for children, and our shitty opinions which may be unsuitable for both adults and children. If you're easily offended, please don't turn away right now. We really do need the views, but I would advise you not to watch this video with your parents, or don't let your parents watch it either. Right. Let's get on with it then. Who the hell misses so many one-on-ones? I could have scored those, and I normally can't see without my glasses.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Pretentious Pundits, a podcast where we talk about all things football and we pretend to know what we're talking about. This week has been incredible. We are back with the lads. So let me introduce them. Shashik, Sirish and Hari, who are Liverpool fans. And Anil Bhaiya, who's a Tottenham fan. We have had a great weekend. And Fawaz, who's a United fan. We'll be only covering 2 games this game week because I think these 2 game weeks itself, they cover a lot of talking points. So the first game we'll be talking about is Tottenham versus Manchester United. And it has been an incredible game. So many talking points. It's been insane. Anyways, we'll get straight into it. Anil Bhaiya, what did you have to say about the performance Tottenham put up? Kane, Son, they were incredible.
Yeah, I told you if Son starts, the game will be different, and it was different. Harry Kane and Son now have this instant connection, and it shows actually. And I was a little surprised. I was not surprised by the fact that they got a penalty within 30 seconds. But then Martial got what he deserved in the 30th minute mark. And I think even before the sending off, he dominated the game. We were looking more likely to score. I think we had Ole by the balls. We knew that the game was ours. And even their defense was helping us out points. So I was very happy with the performance. I'm still happy.
Yeah. Talking about the VR decision, Sirish, what would you like to say about the VR decision? I mean, it was very controversial. It could have gone both ways. I think the VR said there's no violent conduct in what Lamela did, but the referee saw what Martial did and he got a red card. So, do you think that was justified? The red card?
I mean, the Martial red card, obviously. There is no excuse for reacting the way he did. I mean, yeah, you get you can appeal to, if you feel like if he felt like Lamela actually, made an infringement or, he raised his arm or struck him first or initiated the contact, he could have just appealed to the referee rather than trying to take matters into his own hands, which he clearly did, and then had to suffer the repercussions. But I feel like on closer inspection, VR should also have maybe cautioned Eric Lamela at least, because
He got a yellow card, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, but to be very honest, I've seen a lot of opinions on Instagram and on all social media. Like people, most of them Man United fans were saying, either both of them should have been given a yellow card and or both of them should have been given red. But either ways, they were feeling very cheated because of the decision that went against Martial. But I feel like it was justified. Martial's reaction wasn't what it was supposed to be. We've seen this before in West Brom vs Everton game as well. I think it was James Rodriguez and Kieran Gibbs. James Rodriguez and Kieran Gibbs. The way Kieran Gibbs reacted, I mean, there was less of a contact in that case, but still he got sent off because his conduct again was not appropriate. But in this case, it was a clear punch. So I don't see any complaints. I don't see why Manchester United players should be complaining about that.
As Mourinho said, there's one thing they shouldn't cry about their decisions, and that's Manchester.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, I'll come to Shashik. What did you think about United's performance as a whole? I'll come back to Fawaz to sum it all up. But what do you think of United's performance defensively?
From minute one, they were really bad. their defense was really off it. I mean, they were off their game. Maguire was horrible. I mean, who goes and stops your own defender from clearing the ball? It's like I don't know what he thought at that moment, but that was just stupid. And then after the red card, uh, I feel like even before the red card, they weren't playing well. Spurs were dominating the entire match. Spurs midfield was just, I mean, they were solid that day. But United was just off on all areas, other than the penalty which they scored, Bruno scored. Other than that, I didn't see any signs of positivity from the whole team, which uh, which is a very bad sign. But it's good that it's come this soon for them. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
mid-season would have been a little more devastating for them.
Yeah, it could have been bad. Yeah.
Speaking of Maguire, the man was tromping around the pitch like an epileptic donkey. Don't know what he was up to.
It was so bad.
I
It was a
swear,
comedy of errors because he headed the ball in to his own box, and then it was ricocheted off by. It was just really funny to see as a
And
neutral fan.
the problem with United is now they've gone and bought Alex Telles. They
Yeah.
need to strengthen their center defense, not their wing backs. I feel attacking they're fine, but then the center back position is.
But I feel like I can understand why Man United did what they did because Luke Shaw himself is not a very great player. I mean, a couple of years back, very promising, but ever since he's returned from injury, he's not looked very strong, especially not for the standards Man United hoped he would hit. And yeah, I feel like you can't really blame Luke Shaw on that goal. He was about to clear the ball. He was pretty much the closest person to the ball. He was about to clear
Exactly.
it. Had it not been for the fridge, I mean, you can't hit. You can't go lower. You've hit rock bottom. This is the ultimate fuck up of defensive errors. This is the ultimate fuck up amongst defensive errors.
Let's not talk about defensive.
Let's not. That's not.
Yeah, we'll
I
come to
don't want
that
to
game
talk at
later.
all.
I just want to come quickly to Harry. Harry, what do you think about
Phrasing.
Tottenham's midfield and their forward line? I don't think they had much to do in the defensive area because United were 10 men down at around the 25th or 30th minute. So, what do you think about Mourinho's masterclass in this one?
Yeah, everything is perfectly synchronized in that team. I mean, the minute Bruno scored, 2 minutes after that, Ndombe scored. After that, Son scored. Then Kane scored. Then that went on. That shows like that team's positive like mentality under Mourinho's great compared to previous years. Like Pochettino's loss, I think it kind of affected Spurs, and it was pretty evident previous season. But this season they have been doing very great, like on target. And yeah, defensively they didn't have to do that much. And obviously as you said, United went down to ten with Martial doing. So yeah, their midfield and attacking was on time. It was like
Yeah.
so good. It was like very very good. And
Well-
beating United at home is something you can pat on your back and say like, yeah, I did it. Something great.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, I'll come to Fawaz now. The defense, I think, cost around 190 million combined, and they clearly didn't put up a performance worth that value. It was a really bad performance. I mean, we have seen this coming from the first game and the second game, which United played. I think it was building up to this, and it just it turned to shit. I would say it was that bad. Because what do you have to say? I mean, on the entire performance.
Pathetic. That's the only thing I can say. I couldn't believe that was the team I've been supporting since I was a little kid. I mean, I've watched Manu in their best days. They used to play so well, and coming now, they are playing like even though spending so much money, they are playing so badly. Especially Harry Maguire. I don't know. I don't have words to talk about Maguire. He he just marked his. He just tried to
Pull
foul his
Shaw back.
player. Yeah, he just pulled Shaw back, and after that also they hats off to Spurs. They played so well. They were so organized, and the way they executed, the way they found those gaps, and before that red card also they were playing really well. After the red card, they just took more advantage of the situation.
but losing 6-1 at our home ground, like one of the biggest clubs in England, losing 6-1, it's too bad, too bad. And this is high time. It's a wake up call. As a football fan, I feel it was good that as a Manu fan as well, I feel it was good that Manu lost 6-1, because now they have to realize and they have to change things in the dressing room. They have to be stronger, come together and train harder. Then defensively, they have a lot of work to do, because, like Shastik said, that we didn't sign centre back, which was our priority. We've been spending on centre backs every 1 or 2 seasons, 30
Yeah.
million, 40 million, and 80 million last season. So after spending that money, managers still try to get the best out of the players. It's not like Man City. One season the centre back flop, we go sign another centre back for 50 million. So I think that's the reason Ole didn't spend on centre backs. And we have good young players also coming up, like Mengi, then Kwanzebe is there. So they might get more chances. But yeah, we were hanging on a rope. We were hanging like really badly from the first game. It was pretty much evident how we started our season, and we needed this loss. But
Yeah.
it's not important. Like, the loss is good, but learning from it and improving our performances is much more important. If they continue the same thing, I don't think so they're going to finish the season well, because every time it's either a bad start or a good start, and then they just shut shut down in the middle of the season, and then they have to fight for top four or top six, or top 10. So that's what happens every season. You can't expect to win trophies if you are performing like this. If you
Yeah.
start the
Yeah, United were also involved in two deadline day signings, Edinson Cavani and Alex Telles. Yeah, Amar Traore, who's going out on who's gone out on loan, and he'll be back in January. But
Yeah, there is a
Sorry?
fourth.
list,
Yeah, there is a fourth.
fourth?
Yeah, they made four
there's
signings.
Another
Winger, another winger.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, that Uruguay, is it that
Was he Uruguayan? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Uruguayan guy. But the Amar Traore, he's not sent on loan. He can't join till January because of work permit.
Work permit, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one more thing
Anyways,
that we relatively need to address is probably the Twitter tag or whatever social media tag that's trending right now, Woodward out. And I feel like more often than not, even though like Man United fans hate Woodward because he's more financially inclined towards the club than he is for the football. And he's made it evident time and time again, taking out money from the club rather than keeping it in the club. And I feel like it's kind of unfair on him at this point, because whatever Manchester United has demanded for, he's delivered. They wanted a centre back, he was ready to dish out 80 million for Maguire. They wanted a full back, dished out money for that as well. I mean,
They have paid out money, but I don't think that they're dishing out money at the right places, right?
exactly.
I'm pretty sure
Exactly.
Ole wouldn't have wanted that Uruguayan 21-year-old.
No,
Would have wanted
he wouldn't have.
Sancho.
He
right?
would have. He would have
Would have
wanted
wanted-
Sancho rather.
He would have, like, I'm pretty sure the blame is going to go all on Ole. He will get sacked if these results
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
And he can't do anything, right? He has a bunch of players who right now it feels don't want to play for him anymore, because the kind of performance that they gave that day was extremely horrible, and it doesn't look like they are actually they want to play for the club. They
Yeah,
have some kind of money.
I feel like the tactics have also gone to shit, because when you're
Yeah.
going in, when you go into the halftime, when you go into the tunnel at halftime, and Ole delivers his halftime talk, you're at 10 men. You're 10 men on the pitch, and why on earth would it make sense for Pogba to start as a left winger?
Yeah,
And
I
they-
think
they started playing from the back, like even after the
Exactly.
as soon as they became
Exactly.
10, and they were still playing out of the back. And as soon as Kane pounced on the by mistake and scored on goal. And the thing is, I feel like Spurs could have scored so much more if Bale was there, because I saw the match, and then the left side of United was just empty. It was Aurier just making runs in behind him.
Yeah, it was
Smashing
legit
wide.
Aurier just running and making
Like
crosses.
Defense should resign if Aurier is scoring and assisting in one game. That's what I said. So the right side of Spurs will be really strong once Bale starts, and I think he's back at really well. I think our attack is very underrated at this point. Because even against Newcastle, we could have scored much more if we were more clinical. Against like Chelsea, we did not have a first team attack. Then whenever a first team attack has played after Everton, we have like ripped apart defenses.
Yeah.
Because of Kane's incisive finishing, passes and Son
Exactly.
to finishing. And I think if we add Bale to that mixture, he'll be a force to reckon
It's
with.
deadly. And
Yeah, I saw a statistic which said since Mourinho arrived, I think Kane and Son have been involved in the most goal contributions in the entire league. So I mean that's huge for Tottenham,
yeah.
and
More than 65.
it's brilliant for them. Yeah, exactly. It's been brilliant for Tottenham. Things are really looking up for Tottenham, but on the other hand, for United, it's not looking very great. I'd just like to quickly ask Fawaz about Edinson Cavani and Alex Telles. Champions League quality, great signings. They are a huge name in Champions League football. What do you think they'll bring to the team?
First of all, I'll start with Alex Telles, a brilliant player. He's very good offensively. He gets the goals, he gets the assist more importantly. The thing with our fullbacks is Aaron Wan-Bissaka is really good. Defensively, he's really good, but offensively, he doesn't put the crosses all the time. Like how Trent and Robertson do for Liverpool. He's not that kind of a player. And these days, except for that game, they have been so consistent for the last 3 seasons. So the best fullback examples I can give is Robertson and Trent. I'm sorry for the Aston Villa game. Anyways, yeah, and Telles is like that kind of a player. So, like you said, he's a Champions League quality player, and they needed him because Luke Shaw, he's been given a lot of chances, especially last season. There were no injuries. Like Siri said, after the injuries he didn't look like himself. The potential he had, he didn't fulfill it. And it's time we got a new left back, and it's good. It's good Telles came in because he provides that thing. He gives them those crosses. He can come with those goals. So it's a good move for United. But Cavani is also a brilliant move, in my opinion, because one thing is his age, 33. So he still has 1 or 2 years to play in Premier League. 1 or 2 years he can play. Then he might go to the lower league unless he's Zlatan. Anyway,
I mean, but he brings experience.
he brings a lot of experience, and players like Martial, Rashford, Greenwood can learn from him because they still have a lot of potential to fulfill. He's been one of the best goal scorers in Europe for the past 10 seasons. It's pretty much evident. Just because Mauro Icardi and Kylian Mbappe were more involved last season, he didn't get many chances. But before that, he was PSG's main man.
Yeah.
So it didn't come much into picture because he's usually very underrated. He doesn't get credit. He doesn't get most of the credit usually, but it's a really good signing for them because if either of these guys get injured, there are players like Odion Igalo offensively. There are players like Jesse Lingard who don't come in with goals or assists. Odion Igalo plays well in the League Cup and Europa League and all, but he's not Premier League striker. He's been given a few chances, but he's failed to convert them.
Yeah,
But
Cavani is also their top goal scorer, record goal scorer. PSG.
Cavani, yeah, he's PSG's record goal scorer. He beat Zlatan's record. Yeah, but that's what. They'll get a lot of experience and they'll get the goals also. Hopefully, he settles well in the Premier League.
And I guess it gives the younger players more incentive to work a little harder. They don't want to be shown up by a 33-year-old striker he's got so much experience, so they can obviously learn from him, but also they want to make sure that they perform day in, day out on the pitch as well and in the training.
Do you think Cavani Cavani and Telles will directly start for United, or will it take some time for them?
No.
I think Telles will start.
Telles might.
Telles will start, but Cavani he needs some.
Telles might purely because of how shite Luke Shaw is playing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for Brandon Williams as well because he's been performing decently.
But
He's really good. He can play in the right as well as the left. His natural position is actually the right. So he'll be getting chances. The good thing with Ole is he doesn't leave out any players. He gives them the chances. If they play well, even if it's a young player, he'll keep giving them chances. But if it's someone
Greenwood.
like Jesse Lingard, Phil Jones, when
Jesse
Phil
Lingard is
Jones,
your best young player, and I won't have
What
you
a
rip
guy.
him to
Jesse
shreds.
Lingard is good. I
Lingard
remember
is
that bet.
exactly.
Someone bet that last year he won assist or score and did it on the
Yeah.
last day.
Last
Yeah.
match,
What a
last
guy.
kick of the game.
Last
kick
kick,
of the
yeah.
game.
So
Against
sad,
Leicester.
so sad for the guy who did it.
The man is a living, breathing legend, right up there with Lord Bednar, if I don't say so myself.
Not Bentner.
What about Ingvarts?
Oh,
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. United will obviously hope for Donny van de Beek to come in as well and help out the team.
Yes.
It increases that depth as well. So, anyways, this game has been crazy to talk about. But moving on, the next game. I mean, Aston Villa versus Liverpool. The scoreline was 7-2, guys. 7-2. Premier League champions. It was crazy. I think even Spurs, Tottenham Hotspur's win was overshadowed by the fact that Liverpool
It
lost
was
7-2.
because I was only sat for like 2 hours and then I saw the scoreline. I didn't watch the match. I saw the scoreline. I lost it. I completely forgot that we lost 6-1 and I hope that it was too good.
I wanted Tottenham to be relevant for once, guys. Once. Liverpool had one job. Not concede more than 6.
It was insane. No one saw this coming. I think absolutely no one did. But credit to Aston Villa, they put in a really good performance. They had a really positive transfer window. I know Sirif doesn't like that, but Aston Villa had a really positive transfer window. They signed
Okay,
Ollie
calm
Watkins.
down, buddy. That's so nice.
Yeah, I was saying Aston Villa they put in a really good performance. I think from the get go they were ready for the game. They came out firing. Anil Bhaiya, what do you have to say about Aston Villa's performance and the likes of Grealish who's cemented? I think he's staying at the club for another 5 years. He signed a contract in the summer. What do you have to say about these individual players who did so well?
I mean, I'm lost forward to see how well they play. And I think one of the main things that work for Aston Villa is that the I think one of the main things that I want to say is that they were very lucky in some sense. It's a little unpopular opinion because of the number of deflected goals. But the one thing that I really liked is how they exploited the fact that Liverpool had a very weak midfield. I think that was one of the main factors that they exploited really well. They were missing key players in the midfield, Thiago, Henderson, and the kind of the kind of pace that Ollie Watkins had, and the kind of creativeness that Grealish has, they really exploited that really well. And one more thing I want to say on Liverpool's point is that even after going 3-1 down, right? It was
Yeah.
you could see clearly that whatever Klopp was trying to do, his game was not working because Aston Villa were exploiting the high line very well. They were exploiting it very well, and he didn't change that. He was very stubborn, I think, and Aston Villa was very happy with that. They just went around, scored like there's no tomorrow, and
Yeah.
it was overall.
Yeah, I think what Aston Villa's game plan was, to beat Liverpool's first press. So once you beat the first press, it's a really high back line which they exploited really well. Fawaz, any thoughts about how Aston Villa performed? Ollie Watkins a hat trick, Grealish, Barkley. I keep saying this individual players because they did so well, and Aston Villa had a game plan and they did it. They did perfectly. Fawaz.
Yeah, I mean, the way Aston Villa started the season, they played too good. They're excellent. They don't look like the team they were last season. I mean, we all wrote them off in our predictions as well. And I didn't see this coming, honestly. But the way they were like so organized, I saw this in the Man U game. They played a friendly against us. And Ollie Watkins, his presence over there, that was like the biggest factor because last season, this time Wesley, who was a flop, and then they signed Samata, who was a flop again. So they didn't have a striker, and Grealish, again, all these kind of players had to do all the work. They had to get the goals from the middle of the park, and they struggled really hard. But then they have a good striker now who can get those goals, and he scored a perfect hat trick as well. We have to give them credit because they just exploited the whole team. The main thing they missed Allison, Liverpool missed Allison, and Adrian was pathetic. I mean, the first goal as well. Who does that mistake? Uh, and then a lot of deflected goals, but you have to give them credit because they just kept on attacking, attacking, attacking. We've never seen Liverpool, beaten this badly by a team. So that's what.
Yeah, Anil Bhai has something to say.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add that maybe Allison being there wouldn't have changed a lot because most
Yes.
of the goals that were stated were unsavable. The Barkley shot, even four of those were deflected.
yeah.
And and the first goal was also not properly Adrian's mistake. I think it was more Gomez who was not correct.
Yes.
He was not there to help out Adrian for a ball that he didn't expect to get. Adrian is the easy scapegoat here, and people can obviously blame him and say "Okay, it was Adrian because of Liverpool conceded 7 goals." But I think there are more culprits there, and I'm pretty sure
The
the
thing,
other Liverpool
I
fans
mean,
are
they
blaming.
started the way they started. You could see it from the first game itself. The game against Leeds, they lead in 3 goals. The mistakes they made, Van Dijk and Joe
Yeah,
Gomez, that was
Allison also made a
horrible.
mistake that game, right?
Allison also made a mistake that time. Yeah.
Suresh.
So So yeah, this was
I don't.
coming. It was coming, but we didn't expect them to lose this badly. But I'll just come to Aston Villa. The Aston Villa will have a great season. I mean, I was expecting them to get relegated, but if they just keep on going like this, I mean, they just might finish inside the top 10. That's what I
And
feel about
also
it.
getting Grealish on a long-term contract was a brilliant.
Yeah, it's
Like
huge for
I
the
didn't
club.
expect him to sign a new
And it's
contract.
working out for Ross Barkley as well because he wouldn't get chances in Chelsea, but coming to Aston Villa, he'll get those chances. And Aston Villa will also get the creativity, the dribbling, everything. They'll get a good player. So it will work out for both the parties, and it's a good move for Ross Barkley.
Yeah, I think Barkley was really good on that game, even though he missed I think 2 or 3 big
Excuse me.
chances. The score could have been even worse on Liverpool. Anyways, I'll come to the Liverpool boys now. This is I don't know. You can just see the looks on their faces. I'll go to Hari first. Hari, do you think Klopp made a wrong decision by making Liverpool play such a high line and with that midfield? Was that the fact that Klopp set out the team in the wrong way, or it was just the players not performing on the pitch?
I would blame, I won't blame Klopp's tactics been working out well. I would say the players are not doing good. The defense, as Sawa said, we conceded 3 goals against Leeds. Just looking everything from that point, almost like our defense it needs to rework again. Like players are not in good form, and yeah, players. I would say majority of the thing is like players fault only. Like I think like when at the end gave away the goal, Gomez was not ready. Then nobody stepped it up and they scored. After that they scored again. Salah scored. But then after like when the point like when Salah scored, I thought like maybe we can expect a comeback. But then after that, a lot of chances were given to play. We messed it up brilliantly. But I don't know what we were doing. But then the downfall like this went but like after half time also I think I was not the we were discussing like we might beat them, we might beat them. Previous thing happened in same thing happened in previous season also. We might come out and we might beat them. But after a point, even like when around 75th minute or something, Siri went to the bed and it was me only who watched the 7th. Like, I think we woke up like morning was like 7th. I watched it and like, I didn't expect this kind of performance. It
Yeah,
was very terrible and
yeah,
disgusting. Like, different was, I have no words to describe that. Midfield was also very bad.
yeah,
Attacking also, so just messed it up. every player in
Yeah.
the entire squad, the only one who gave effort is Salah only. And he was fighting it from very young. And kept on put. He was just trying to just catch the ball out like to the other side of the line. But
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Yeah.
Firmino is making everything.
Yeah.
Liverpool,
Anyways,
I don't think it's good. Liverpool's ego was the downfall, and maybe like after
Yeah,
four at half time, could have
especially the
um,
defense, like it was so hyped up. Van Dijk, no offense, he's been performing so well. But from last season, it was like pretty much evident the way he's been playing. So and this season it was
especially after especially after winning the
after
title.
the restart.
Van Dijk has
and
Van Dijk has got some
we considered like this like in like 1963 or something. Like that is way long.
against Tottenham.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything happen. So that's against Scotland. Like it's
Yeah, I mean,
really bad.
after restart, I think Liverpool have not been their former selves. It's been crazy. I'll come to Shashik. Shashik, do you think the likes of Henderson missing out, and Mane and Thiago and Allison, did that make a huge difference? Because I think Henderson is huge for the club on the pitch and off the pitch. He's a leader, and I think they lacked a leader when Liverpool went down to three goals or four goals. What do you think of the? Yeah.
I think this has been a problem for a while now. Whenever Henderson is injured, our record is just bad. It's horrible. We lack wins whenever he doesn't play, and there is just no one commanding on the pitch as much as him when he plays. There's a big part of the team. There's a big chunk of the team that is missing when he gets injured or anything, which seems like a very big problem because you can't depend on one person. And I know that a captain's contribution is a lot, and when he's your captain for a long time, it does. I mean, it does affect you. But then there are players like Van Dijk and Fabinho. I feel like I'm Milner. Actually, I'm
Milner.
Milner. Yeah, Milner and Van Dijk. I feel like they can take up those roles, but I don't know. The team just doesn't seem to be working as well as it does with Henderson. But that is not the only problem. The other problem is our forwards. I mean, we did have Mane out with an injury. Jota came in, and I won't blame him because it's only his second game. But what is
Yeah,
Formula
Mane was
doing?
tested positive for the virus. Yeah.
Yeah, but what is Formula doing? I mean, he's been so horrible. I mean, he's been so pathetic, horrible. There's only so much. I mean, Sirish is trying. I mean, I'll tell you, Sirish has defended him so much. I've ranted about Formula for the past 6 months. I would say since the start of the year. But Sirish is trying to defend him up until this point. I feel when Sirish is also, I think, going to agree that Formula's chances. I think we need a new striker. It's very evident because you can't just expect goals from your wingers. The whole point of a striker is to get goals. It's not only about the assists that Firmino provides. And I think the chances that he missed against Villa as well, it's just stupid. And the loss of Thiago, I don't think it was going to play such a big role because he is relatively new to the club, and we have to see where exactly he's going to fit, which role he's going to play. So the loss of Thiago, I don't think is going to was going to anyways make any difference. Thiago and Allison to be fair, because our defense was just so bad. It was so disorganized, and Villa just Gomez was so poor. I mean, what I don't know what was he doing. I don't know what was he playing. Which sport he was playing for some reason. I don't know what was he doing, and it's just horrible to see this. I mean, you're champions. You don't expect this kind of performance from a team that is just been relegated.
Yeah. Yeah, they have Everton coming up in the next game week as well, so they have to be ready for that one. I think it's huge that Liverpool get a result. Anyways, I'll come to Sirish. Sirish, to sum it all up, what went wrong with Liverpool? Credit to Aston Villa nonetheless, but considering Liverpool's performance so far, they beat three huge teams, I'd say, and Leeds, Chelsea, and Arsenal. And this would have been seen as a easy win, I would say. No disrespect to Aston Villa, but what went wrong, Sirish? Just sum it all up.
I think
One minute, okay. 1 minute. Prepared for this bottom two.
Popcorn. Anyways, I think we'll grab popcorn for this one. Suresh is going to sum it all up.
Yeah, I think when you said, a shorter list to make would be what went right, because obviously everything went tits up. Uh, to any of the people who have made it so far in the video, we're obviously going to include a disclaimer at the beginning. But for some reason, if you're still sticking around, I would like to warn you guys beforehand. Some of the things I say might be offensive to you or might not pertain to your ideology, but don't really care. Don't really care. It's my opinion. Don't like it. Fine. Can't be bothered. Anyways, time to pick up my pitchfork and torch and go on a witch hunt through this Liverpool team. Jesus Christ, where do I begin? I've never been so frustrated in my entire life. I seriously have never been so frustrated in my entire life watching Liverpool play. And mind you, I have sat through that terrible UCL final where I saw Karius single-handedly gifting Real Madrid the Champions League title. Regardless, it all started when the overage regen of Loris Karius and the hood version of Phil Jones tried to defend a chance. In the end, they just ended up gifting Ollie Watkins an open net. And I call it open because it doesn't matter if Adrian is in front of it or not. It's pretty much guaranteed it's going in. And at this point, I'm not even gonna say it's Adrian's fault. Joe Gomez's positioning was horrible. You can't just give him the ball and then wash your hands off of all responsibility. Like I said, hood version of Phil Jones in all aspects. I would rather have Phil Jones that day in my defense. I seriously would. To see a centre back substituted at the in the second half, it just shows you how shite our defense is. Fullbacks, everybody's been sucking their dicks for the last 2 seasons, saying too good offensively, but agreed. Brilliant output, not gonna belittle it at all. Brilliant output. Nobody's done more for our club, probably, including our fullbacks and forwards have probably done most of the work, and our midfield has been very good in supporting roles. But defensively, I feel like they have the defensive capability of a one-legged horse. They just don't know what they're doing. Just stumbling around the pitch. And people who are saying that key players are missing. This is our best lineup, considering the injured players. This is the best lineup Liverpool could have possibly put out. I shit you not. The midfield trio is probably our best midfield trio if Henderson gets injured. That's legit our go-to if Henderson and Thiago get injured. And Ox is also injured, so we literally have no other option. And these players have actually played like they don't give a shit. Fabinho for once looked like a retarded donkey running around the pitch. Don't know what was going on with that man. A person who's usually so solid defensively, so brilliant at breaking up plays. He's just frustrating me. And talking about our forwards, Diego Jota, I'm not going to blame the man. He tried. He actually tried. He was making those runs even towards the end of the game, pressurizing the defense. Mo Salah came up with 2 goals. Like I've said time and time again, Mo Salah is probably one of the most frustrating players you can ever watch on this planet. But he, for some reason, looked like was trying to single-handedly rescue Liverpool. Sort of like the Cristiano Ronaldo in that Real Madrid team, trying to do everything single-handedly. And speaking of Firmino, the Brazilian lesbian, for those of you who get the reference, kudos. You guys have been through some amazing times. For those of you who don't, never mind. I could have scored those chances. Who misses so many one-on-ones? Fine, you set up a good goal for Salah, but do you forget the purpose you are in this 4-3? We are already playing a 4-3-3 holding, which is the defensive variant of a 4-3-3, in which you, as a striker, try to drop back. Fine. Who the hell misses so many one-on-ones? I could have scored those, and I normally can't see without my glasses. Point. I honestly, I have been trying to defend this man, but at this point, I'm just going to let the Instagram trolls take care of it. Go on, guys. I'm just going to hand him over to the Instagram trolls. He is a defensive strike. Call him whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Call him Jesus on a broomstick. I don't give a shit. He is honestly so fucking terrible. Watching him play that match just made my heart sink. FIFA is one of the most retarded games in terms of ratings, player ratings. to be rated the same as Aubameyang after putting in that horrendous performance last season. And also, I think there was this one card a few seasons back that made Firmino play as a centre mid. And to be very honest, I think he would do much better if we put him in the centre mid role because striking wise, I mean,
That's where he plays.
exactly.
He was an attacking midfielder. Yeah.
Don't know what he was in that game, especially, other than a headache.
I think Yasser asked this question to Hari if Klopp's tactics were the problem with the players. I think both were the problem because
Both.
I feel like it's been too long. It's been too long since Klopp is playing the same tactics and people have figured it out. And this highlight
The-
that they played it.
The only other time we've seen Klopp experimenting is that with the 4-2-3-1 formation where he was playing Salah at strike.
Yeah.
And fine, whatever that was, never worked out in our favor anyways. Made the game more difficult. And
I feel like that's a shame.
I could go on and on. I mean, Virgil van Dijk, ever since the restart, asking our defense to defend at this point seems just as pointless as asking Salman Khan to drive safe. You know it's not going to happen. It's just one defensive fuck up after the other. And this man is considered to be one of the world's best defenders. And he's already, I think since the beginning of the season, he's made, I think, 2 errors that have led directly into goals. Like
I was
that.
scared of the ball.
Ye- I shit you not. Why are you so scared of the ball? What is it gonna do to you? Like, what is it gonna do to you? I'm telling you, nobody even knew who Ollie Watkins was before this game. Nobody knew who Ollie Watkins was. This man has just come in and scored a hat-trick against Liverpool and now they've made him look like prime R9. Man's just scoring for fun. Exactly, everybody knows who Ollie Watkins is now, so thank you. I mean, I think Ollie Watkins owes us a thanks for launching his career in the Premier League. And apart from that, talking of defensive fuck-ups, I mean, Virgil van Dijk has been given what is his rating on FIFA 21? 90. 91.
19.
The lads at EA are smoking some mad pot. I shit you not, they're smoking some mad pot, and Virgil van Dijk is sitting right next to them smoking a bud.
I agree.
And I feel like if Firmino spent more time, focusing on his football than he did brushing his teeth, we would have had a better result. Terrible, utter shite, utter garbage. And we have Everton coming up next week, so gonna be a fun one. But I feel like time to bounce back. So enough is enough.
I don't serious the way our defense has been since last year. I feel like we are considered to have one of the best defenses because we're champions. But then
apparently.
since we became champions, we've been horrible defensively.
Trust me. I have been complaining ever since we became champions. The game against City, I was complaining. And everybody was calling me just uptight. They were saying, relax, they've won a league after 30 years, you can let them have this. No, fuck you. That's not a champions mentality. Like, what person legit wins a league title and then goes, okay, you know what? Time to party, fuck football. Their form since restart was abysmal. Fine. They just lost the one game and then, regardless, they lost that game to Arsenal, which we gifted them last season. Regardless.
That was also a Van Dijk mistake.
Yeah, ever since we've won the league title, we have been pathetic, and I don't know what it is. Is it overconfidence that, we are Liverpool, we'll scrape through somehow? This is a wake-up call, guys. Freaking Aston Villa scoring 7 goals. I don't think this club has ever dreamed of scoring anything above 3 goals in a single game. And they're going ahead and scoring 7. At this point, Dean Smith is standing on the sideline with his assistant coaches like, I don't think we planned for this. But you know what? I think all of us are getting a raise. And fuck me, they do deserve one after they made us look like bitches. They practically walked into our half, bent us over, pulled our shots down, and had their way with us. And I shit you not, it was not fun to watch whatsoever. I was saying much more offensive stuff on the call, and thank God there's no recording of that because goddamn I'd have been in trouble. But yeah, I think it's like Fawaz said, wake up call for Man U, wake up call for Liverpool as well. Please wake the fuck up. For God's sake, wake the fuck up.
Really positive to take from this match was 4 or 5 goals were deflection. That's the only positive we can take.
I mean, the Van Dijk deflection too. What was he doing? He was facing half towards the goal and half towards the ball.
That was like this side.
He legit just turned away from the ball. It's like, oh wow, That's how you defend. So his idea of defending is when the ball comes to you, turn away. And Fabinho, unlucky. Fabinho's deflection was downright unlucky. I don't blame him for that.
Man, gone straight to Van Dijk.
Oh,
Aston Villa have rattled.
they have rattled. I mean, I don't care at this point. Like, we have become a living meme. If we weren't already won, yeah. Thanks to this,
Concede 7 goals like this.
yeah. I don't think anybody's ever lost so bad.
No one's done that.
So,
Yeah, and to say the Arsenal were. Yeah, go on. Let's see another thing, yeah.
Could be could further that nightmare because their midfield compared to I'm just asking, will Henderson be back at that match? Not sure.
Probably Mane and Thiago will be. Probably Mane and Thiago will be.
Possibility. Henderson is playing their midfield and attack. Their midfield and attack is going to eat the up. Yes. I told you.
Yeah, it will be a really interesting watch.
It will be a very interesting watch. And it's at Goodison Park, I think. Yeah, it's at Goodison Park. Yeah. So that game.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think the stadiums. I think at this point the stadiums don't matter because the fans are not there. I think Anfield, has a certain aura, but without the fans, it's not the same. Same with Goodison Park. Anyways, Aston Villa, last season they were going to get relegated. I think they were 1 point off the relegation zone.
And to stay up because of freaking goal line technology being switched off.
Goal line technology.
Yeah, against Bournemouth. Exactly. And now they go and win their first 3 games in the Premier League. It's insane.
Hot take.
Yeah.
I'm still on the same page. If Everton beat Liverpool in their next game, they are serious title contenders. I think. Serious title contenders.
I think they might.
Hari wants to say something. I know what he's going to say.
What is he going to say?
Popular opinion adding to I think all the top 6 teams they will be fucking around and Everton will go with the title and get
Bro.
but
Do not undermine Everton at this point. I am telling you guys.
I think this is
Liverpool.
It's just not working.
sacrilegious to say this as
It's just not working, guys.
as a Liverpool fan.
no, I'm not telling
Why isn't he getting disconnected?
the same exact thing happened few years back. About in the same exact score United considered 1-6 and we also I think considered some same amount. And
What
that
is
is
some
a prophecy or something? It has to happen again.
That doesn't
You
matter.
never
But,
know.
Irrelevant.
You never know.
Everton are not winning the league. No.
but the way it's playing, I feel like
They might finish in the top 4, top 6, wherever they're not winning the league. Not winning the league.
We'll have to wait for that. We'll have to wait and watch.
And I seriously, I don't want. I'm call me delusional, but I don't see Liverpool losing next week either. Because fine, I feel like this is our time to bounce back. If you practically lose to Everton, then just quit, man.
Yeah.
Just quit.
Even I don't want Everton to win the Premier League, but just for a reality check, you never know. They're gonna
I'd be damned if Everton won the league. I'd be damned. Fuck, I would hang myself if Everton won the league.
all I'm saying, Everton beat Liverpool as champion. That's the worst thing to hear. Do not undermine Everton at this point. Look at how they are playing, man.
They are.
So
Look, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. They're playing brilliantly, but
playing brilliant.
my worst nightmare would be the Merseyside turn into the Forbidden B word. I wouldn't say the B.
shut up.
What is the forbidden
I'd
blue?
be happy
Blue.
if anyone won the league other than Liverpool because they wouldn't beat us.
Can you fuck off? Can you actually
it's
fuck off from
2019 as well. So United are praying that Liverpool don't win the league.
You guys picked it off.
the disconnect button is useless. It just doesn't work.
Anyway, so this has been a crazy episode, and the results were crazy as well. Siri, just end it, buddy.
You mean my life, or
No,
because I don't mind doing both. at this point. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. For those of you who have stuck around, and thanks for all the support that you've given us over the last few episodes. It's really been overwhelming, and we appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends. If you found my opinion insensitive / offensive, don't give a shit. If you found any of their opinions offensive, don't give a shit for that either. It's our opinion, for God's sake. Thanks a lot for watching. Please make sure to follow our. Kind of seems pointless now, but thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to follow us on our socials. On Instagram @Pretentious Pundits, and stream this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really helps us and lets us know that you are enjoying the content. The links to streaming them will be down in the description. And as always, we'll be back with another preview and review as well, and a lot of fun content planned. So stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you.
Tata.